Good morning. From protests on the streets of LA to high-stakes talks between global powers, today's headlines are anything but ordinary. But one story stands out and could impact us all. Find out what it is as we break down the most important news of the day. Here's the latest on the escalating immigration protests in Los Angeles. Thousands of demonstrators gathered outside a downtown federal detention center, clashing with security forces as tear gas filled the air. The unrest follows sweeping U.S. immigration raids across the region that began late Friday. President Donald Trump ordered the National Guard into Los Angeles over the weekend, overriding objections from California Governor Gavin Newsom and other local officials. On Sunday, Newsom formally asked the White House to withdraw what he called an unlawful deployment, warning it would only increase tensions. He also urged protesters to remain peaceful and respect law enforcement. Trump described the demonstrations as migrant riots and directed federal agencies to take all necessary actions to restore order and continue deportation operations. Federal officers briefly clashed with smaller groups of protesters near a federal building downtown. The LAPD declared an unlawful assembly and used tear gas and batons after some in the crowd threw bottles and concrete at officers. Arrests were made, but police stressed they are not working with federal agents on civil immigration enforcement and reaffirmed everyone's right to peaceful protest. About 300 soldiers from California's 79th Infantry Brigade Combat Team have been deployed to protect federal property and personnel. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth suggested Marines could be sent if protests intensify, a move Newsom criticized as extreme. ICE has increased arrests nationwide, averaging about 2,000 detentions per day, though still below the administration's goal. In LA, ICE reported 118 arrests this week. Protests have also erupted in Compton and Paramount, where raids reportedly took place. California law bars local police from assisting most federal immigration actions. State officials defend these sanctuary policies, while the Trump administration threatens to cut federal funding to non-cooperative jurisdictions. Now let's take a look at the latest on Bitcoin as political tensions rise in the U.S. Bitcoin continued its steady climb this weekend, gaining 0.78% even as unrest escalated in Los Angeles. Over the past 24 hours, BTC traded between $105.43 and $106.11, closing at $106,332. Despite headlines about protests and the deployment of National Guard troops to LA, crypto markets remain calm, with traders largely unfazed by the broader uncertainty. According to CNBC, more than 100 arrests have been reported in Los Angeles as clashes between protesters and federal agents continue. President Trump authorized the deployment of 2,000 National Guard soldiers, and by Sunday morning, members of the 79th Infantry Brigade were already on the ground. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has warned that Marines from Camp Pendleton could be mobilized if violence continues. Still, Bitcoin's price action suggests investors see the unrest as a local issue rather than a threat to global markets. Throughout the day, Bitcoin moved within a narrow $157 range, rebounding quickly after dipping below $100. Strong buying interest appeared around the $105,400 support level, helping the coin recover. Early attempts to break above $106,100 met resistance, but the move was short-lived as profit-taking set in. Even so, BTC held on to its gains, consolidating above $106,000 and forming a bullish pattern of higher lows. Technical analysis highlights that Bitcoin's support at $105,400 remains solid through several retests, while resistance near $160,000 was briefly broken with strong volume. The hourly chart shows an ascending trend, with momentum building for a possible test of the $107,000 resistance level if current support holds. Despite ongoing political tension and macro risk, Bitcoin continues to attract buyers during market dips, reinforcing its reputation as a hedge in uncertain times. Next, we turn to the latest on U.S.-China trade relations as both countries prepare for a new round of talks. Top negotiators from the United States and China are meeting in London on Monday, aiming to ease tensions over China's control of rare earth minerals. These materials are essential for products like smartphones, electric vehicles, and defense systems. The talks come after months of escalating trade disputes. Both sides have accused each other of backing out of an agreement reached in Geneva this May, which was supposed to mark the start of a de-escalation. Instead, relations have worsened since President Donald Trump returned to office, raising uncertainty for global companies and investors. On Saturday, China announced it had approved some applications for rare earth exports, but did not specify which countries or industries would benefit. This move followed President Trump's statement that Chinese President Xi Jinping agreed to restart shipments of these critical minerals and magnets. The White House emphasized that the U.S. wants the flow of rare earths and related products to return to pre-April levels, without technical barriers slowing trade. Trade tensions have grown this year, with both countries imposing higher tariffs on each other's goods. The U.S. has complained about a drop in rare earth magnet shipments, while China has criticized tighter U.S. restrictions on technology exports and limits on Chinese students studying in America. President Trump's current pause on tariffs for Chinese goods expires in August unless extended. If no deal is reached, tariffs could return to earlier, higher rates. In London, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, and Trade Representative Jameson Greer will meet with China's Vice Premier He Lifeng. A recent call between Trump and Xi raised hopes for progress, but investors remain cautious. So far, the only new U.S. trade agreement under Trump has been with the U.K. Both sides hope these talks will clarify what can be licensed and exported, aiming for more concrete agreements than those made in Switzerland. We'll continue to follow developments as the world's two largest economies seek common ground on trade. Now let's move to the latest developments in the ongoing Gaza crisis, where activists say Israeli forces have boarded an aid ship headed for the region. According to the Freedom Flotilla Coalition, Israeli troops boarded the yacht Madeleine as it attempted to deliver humanitarian supplies to Gaza. The group reported losing contact with the vessel and shared a photo showing people in life jackets with their hands raised. This information has not been independently verified. Among those reportedly on board is climate activist Greta Thunberg. The yacht, which left Sicily on Friday, was believed to be off the Egyptian coast when it was intercepted. Israel's foreign ministry said earlier that its navy had ordered the yacht to change course because it was approaching a restricted area. Israel maintains a blockade around Gaza, arguing it is necessary to prevent weapons from reaching Hamas militants. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz warned that the yacht would not be allowed to reach Gaza and instructed the military to take all necessary measures to stop it. He stated that the blockade, in place since 2007, is vital for Israel's security as it seeks to dismantle Hamas. The Freedom Flotilla Coalition claims the blockade is illegal and accuses Israel of threatening civilians and trying to justify the use of force. The group says the Madeleine is a civilian vessel carrying a small amount of aid, including rice and baby formula, along with human rights defenders from several countries, such as Brazil, France, Germany, the Netherlands, Spain, Sweden, and Turkey. This incident recalls the 2010 raid on the Mavi Marmara, when Israeli commandos killed 10 people during a similar attempt to reach Gaza by sea. Recently, Israel has allowed limited aid into Gaza after months of land blockade, but humanitarian groups say the needs remain dire. According to the UN, Palestinians face extreme hardship, with many at risk of starvation or violence while seeking food. Israel's campaign in Gaza began nearly 20 months ago, following the October 2023 Hamas-led attack that killed about 200 people in Israel. Since then, Gaza's health ministry reports over 54,000 deaths in the territory. We'll continue to follow this developing story as more details become available. Before you go, tell us what's your take on today's news. Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video if you found it helpful. You're watching Finance Daily Reports, your source for global finance and politics. See you soon and have a nice day.